At 23, I never imagined that betrayal would be something I would experience, let alone from someone I considered one of my closest friends. I had always believed in the goodness of people, in the strength of friendships, and in loyalty above all else. But sometimes, life teaches us hard lessons, ones that shake us to our core. It was a betrayal that changed my perspective on friendship, trust, and most importantly, on myself. Let me take you back to when I first met Lily. We were both in college, and we hit it off immediately. We shared the same interests, laughed at the same jokes, and confided in each other about everything. I considered her to be my best friend. We spent hours talking about our dreams, our fears, and everything in between. There was an unspoken bond between us, and I thought that nothing could break it. We were inseparable, or so I thought. Over time, though, I began to notice small changes. She would cancel plans at the last minute, and when we hung out, she seemed distracted. I didn't want to overthink it. I thought she was just busy with her studies, like I was. But something didn't feel right. One day, I found out the truth in the most painful way. I had invited Lily to an event I was excited about, and she had promised to come. I had spent hours getting ready, anticipating a fun night with my best friend. But when I arrived, I saw her with someone else, someone I had no idea she was even close to. They were laughing, having a great time, and there I was, standing in the background, feeling completely out of place. It wasn't the fact that she was hanging out with someone else that hurt, it was the fact that she had lied to me, avoided my calls, and then showed up with this person like nothing was wrong. I walked up to her, trying to keep my composure. "Lily, what's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling with hurt. She looked at me, almost surprised to see me standing there. "Oh, hey, I didn't think you'd show up," she said casually, as if I had been the one to cancel plans. I wish I could say that I handled it calmly, but I didn't. I felt betrayed, angry, and so deeply hurt that I couldn't find the right words. I walked away from her that night, my heart sinking with every step I took. The days that followed were even harder. I tried to reach out to Lily, to get an explanation, but she didn't respond. She avoided me entirely. Eventually, I learned from mutual friends that she had been lying to me for months, keeping things from me and building a secret relationship behind my back. I felt like a fool for trusting her so completely, for believing that she would always have my back. The betrayal stung more than I ever thought possible. It wasn't just about losing a friend, it was about the loss of trust, the loss of something I thought was unbreakable. I spent weeks feeling angry at myself for not seeing the signs earlier, for not listening to my gut when it told me something wasn't right. But in the midst of my pain, something incredible happened. I began to understand that my worth is not defined by the people I allow into my life, but by how I view myself. I spent so much time thinking that my worth was dependent on the relationships I had, on the people who surrounded me. But the truth was that my value came from within. I was more than a friendship, more than a relationship. I was a whole person, capable of standing on my own 2 feet and finding strength within myself. In the weeks that followed, I found solace in spending time alone. I started journaling to express my thoughts and feelings, and I began to process everything that had happened. I realized that I had been so focused on pleasing others and fitting into certain relationships that I had neglected myself. I had neglected my own needs, my own boundaries, and my own self-respect. This betrayal, as painful as it was, taught me that I could only truly depend on myself to protect my heart, my happiness, and my peace. It was during this time of self-reflection that I learned a valuable lesson. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing someone back into your life, it means releasing the power they have over you. For weeks, I had been angry at Lily, and I couldn't let go of that anger. I realized, though, that holding on to that resentment was only hurting me. I wasn't allowing myself to move on, to heal, because I was too focused on her actions instead of focusing on how I could heal. So, I forgave her, not for her, but for myself. I forgave her so that I could let go of the anger and the hurt, so that I could free myself from the pain she had caused. I forgave her because I wanted to reclaim my peace. But forgiveness didn't mean I had to let her back into my life. It didn't mean I had to rebuild the friendship or even reach out to her again. It meant accepting that I couldn't change what had happened and moving forward with a sense of self-respect. I learned that sometimes, the best way to love yourself is to walk away from situations and people that no longer serve you. One of the most important lessons I learned from this betrayal was the value of healthy boundaries. I had always prided myself on being understanding and giving to my friends, but I hadn't known how to set limits. I hadn't known how to protect my heart without shutting it off completely. Through this painful experience, I learned that setting boundaries is not about building walls, it's about taking care of your emotional well-being. As I worked through my anger, I also found strength in my support system. My family, especially my mom, was there for me during those tough days. She reminded me of my worth, of my strength, and of how much I had to offer. Her support gave me the courage to move forward, to step into the next chapter of my life without fear of losing myself again. In the months that followed, I continued to grow. I started building deeper, more meaningful friendships with people who respected me, valued my time, and reciprocated the love and care I gave them. I learned that real friendships are based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, not on convenience or selfishness. And I learned that it's okay to walk away from relationships that aren't serving you, no matter how hard it may be. Looking back, I see that the betrayal, as painful as it was actually a gift. It taught me the importance of self-worth, of forgiveness, and of boundaries. It taught me that I am worthy of love, respect, and trust, and that I should never settle for anything less. So, if you're reading this and you've experienced betrayal in your own life, know this: you are worthy of love, you are worthy of trust, and you are worthy of respect. Don't let anyone make you feel less than that. Take time to heal, to forgive, and to move forward with your life. The people who truly deserve your love will show you respect and care in return. And remember, your value is not determined by the actions of others, it's determined by how you treat yourself. This experience didn't just teach me about others, it taught me about myself. And for that, I will forever be grateful. After forgiving Lily and letting go of the anger I had held onto for so long, I found myself at a crossroads. It wasn't just about moving on from her, it was about moving on from the version of myself that had allowed this betrayal to happen in the first place. I had spent so much of my life looking outward for validation, for love, and for friendship, that I hadn't learned how to value myself first. It took the pain of betrayal to show me that my happiness and self-worth had to come from within. The days following my decision to forgive Lily were difficult, but they were also transformative. I started to do the hard work of getting to know myself, really getting to know the person I was beneath the mask I had put on for others. I began journaling more, pouring out my heart and reflecting on how I could learn from the hurt. Writing became my therapy. I wrote about the feelings I had been too scared to admit, about the pain of losing a friend, but also about the realization that this pain was not the end of my story, it was a new beginning. It wasn't easy at first. Some days, the grief would hit me like a wave, and I would feel overwhelmed by the emptiness of what had been lost. But each time, I reminded myself of what I had learned: I am enough. I don't need anyone else's approval to be valuable, and I don't need anyone else to make me feel complete. One of the hardest things for me to do during this time was learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. I had always been someone who thrived on connections with others, and being alone often made me feel empty. But I quickly realized that being alone didn't mean being lonely. Solitude became my space for growth. It was in these quiet moments that I began to truly appreciate myself and the things I had to offer. I learned to enjoy my own company, to find comfort in the things that made me happy, whether it was reading, taking walks in nature, or simply sitting in silence, reflecting on my thoughts. Over time, I started filling my life with people who truly valued me, people who respected my boundaries and treated me with kindness. I began to focus on building deeper relationships, ones where trust was mutual, where communication was open, and where I felt supported. This shift was gradual, but it was powerful. I realized that true friendships don't come from convenience or proximity, they come from shared values, respect, and genuine care for one another. One of the things I learned from this experience was that I could choose who I allowed into my life. I didn't have to keep toxic relationships just because I had invested time in them. I began to understand that my energy was precious, and it was important to protect it. Not everyone who enters your life deserves to stay. And that's okay. Letting go of relationships that no longer served me wasn't about rejecting people, it was about protecting my peace and my well-being. With this newfound understanding, I began to develop stronger boundaries. I learned to say no when something didn't feel right, and I stopped over-explaining myself. I began to trust my instincts more. When something didn't feel aligned with my values, I walked away without guilt. Setting boundaries didn't make me a bad person, it made me someone who valued herself enough to protect her time, her energy, and her heart. But boundaries weren't just about saying no to others, they were also about saying yes to myself. I started putting myself first, prioritizing my needs, and learning to care for my own well-being. I realized that I had spent too many years trying to make others happy, trying to live up to their expectations, and ignoring my own desires. It was time to change that. I started to set goals for myself, not based on what others wanted for me, but based on what I truly wanted to achieve. I began taking classes in areas that interested me, ones that sparked a sense of passion and purpose. I rediscovered old hobbies, like painting, that I had abandoned because I was too busy trying to meet other people's standards. I gave myself permission to enjoy life without the constant pressure to be perfect or to please others. As the months went by, I started to feel like a new version of myself was emerging, a version that was more grounded, more confident, and more connected to her own values. I realized that the healing process takes time, and it's not always linear. Some days were harder than others, but each step forward brought me closer to the person I was meant to be. I learned that healing isn't about forgetting the past or pretending it didn't happen, it's about accepting what has happened, learning from it, and choosing to move forward in a way that honors your growth. And then, one day, something unexpected happened. Lily reached out to me. It had been months since the betrayal, and I had moved on from the hurt. She sent me a simple message: "I'm sorry. I was wrong, and I hurt you. I understand if you can't forgive me, but I wanted to tell you how sorry I am." At first, I wasn't sure how to respond. I had worked so hard to heal, and I didn't know if I was ready to open that door again. But after thinking it over, I decided to reply. I told her that I appreciated her apology, but that I had already forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. I explained that I had learned so much about myself in the process and that I was in a better place now. We ended the conversation on good terms, and I felt a sense of closure. In that moment, I realized something incredibly important. Forgiveness is not about reconciling with the person who hurt you, it's about finding peace within yourself. I didn't need Lily in my life to heal. What mattered was that I had learned to forgive, to release the past, and to move forward with my life. The entire experience, painful as it was, had changed me. It had taught me self-worth. It had shown me the importance of boundaries, self-love, and empathy. It had revealed the power of forgiveness, not just for others, but for myself. And, most importantly, it taught me that I am enough, just as I am. I don't need anyone else's validation or approval to be whole. I am complete, and I always have been. I am still learning, still growing. But I have learned that no one else's actions can define me unless I allow him to. I know now that I am in charge of my happiness, my self-worth, and my future. I can walk away from toxic relationships, embrace the lessons I've learned, and move forward with my head held high, knowing that I am worthy of love, respect, and kindness. So, if you're reading this and you've experienced betrayal or hurt, I want you to know that you are enough. The pain you're feeling will not define you. You have the power to heal, to forgive, and to move forward. And always remember, you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, respect you, and honor your boundaries. Your worth is not determined by the actions of others, but by how you choose to see yourself and how you choose to live your life. In the end, we can't control how others treat us, but we can control how we respond. And when we respond with love, forgiveness, and self-respect, we become the best version of ourselves.